Okay, since no one has uploaded a video that I found that actually describes what it takes to pull these L series tractors apart, I started this video obviously kind of late. This is an L2900 early to mid 90s model. This is a Grand L tractor. It's not the little B's. This is a bigger tractor, and you can see what I've had to do. The book tells you to remove this cowling that holds the whole steering assembly, clutch pedal, bell cranks, and all that stuff. It's not a big deal, except for that's a hydraulic powered steering box with 5 hoses full of hydraulic oil, and if you can avoid having to disconnect that, I advise it. Disconnect all the linkage rods for the clutch, throttle, and the brake pedals. I undid the electrical wiring, but I'm not sure that was necessary. And you can lift this thing up, as you can see, and I've got it hanging on some heavy-duty wire on both sides, hanging off this crossbar. But if you can lift it up as high as you can, that'll give you clearance to just barely clear this bell housing from underneath. It's close, but it'll come out. You can see on the other side there's 2 hydraulic lines. That's another thing the book tells you to take those lines out. But this tractor with a loader on it, you have to take the loader frame off to get those off. So I was like, I really didn't want to do that. And I could tell that this tractor's been apart before. Somebody's put a clutch in it already. And it looked to me like they did it without taking those lines loose. So I did the same, and it worked. As you can see, I've got it far enough apart. I made these little caster wheel things to stand and hold up. Actually, there's no weight on those right now. I put the jack under it just as a precaution. Didn't want anything to collapse on me, but the jack is actually holding the tractor transmission. And we'll go around to the other side. And you can see there's some, I put a little plastic plug in the end of all the hydraulic lines. I put some plugs in so dirt or crap doesn't fall back in there. But you can see these 2 hydraulic lines. They're both, these 2 lower ones are high pressure supply lines. One to the hydraulic PTO and the 3-point, and the other is for the auxiliary hydraulics, which actually bolt and stay with the transmission, which is nice. You don't have to break any of that loose to drain any fluid. You can see my flywheel's not too bad. I'm not going to take it off. I'm just going to emery board it cloth with like the factory manual says you can do if it's not burned. And since this clutch has had this tractor's had a clutch in it before, I'm almost certain it looks okay. The pressure plate took all the abuse. I'll take a picture of that later in a minute. But you can see this is a suction tube for the hydraulics. Goes back through the filter and into a low spot in the transmission to pull oil up. The hydraulic pump for these is actually up on the engine. I'm looking at it now, but you can't really see it. But kind of a bear to get to, especially with the loader frame still attached. So this helps. This would have helped me. I went ahead and bought an online manual, a digital PDF, and it gave me some ideas. But they say to remove this whole cowling off the front, which would be a bear because of the hydraulics. But I was able to just lift it up, and that was enough room to do it. It's kind of a tedious job because of all the linkages and stuff. You want to be really careful pulling these things apart so nothing falls. Just take your time, pay attention to how stuff goes apart, goes back together. The factory manual is not the best manual I've ever seen, and of course the online PDF copy, the pictures are terrible. So you may have to do some more digging, but maybe this video will help a lot of people see what you got to do. But fortunately, you don't have to drain the transmission nor pull that. You can lift that cowl, and I think it was actually easier with the loader frame still on it because of the bucket and everything on it. it gives that front lots of support. And then I just rolled away the back half of the tractor. Here's the this is the flywheel side, and there's what's left of the pressure plate side. Ruined the pressure plate, which is fine. Ruined the disc, which is fine. I'm going to go back with a 4-puck clutch, which only has 4 small pucks to go around it. You would think that those 4 would not hold as good, but the thinking behind them seems to work. The heavy-duty drag racing clutches and racing clutches, a lot of them don't have this full circle friction disc. It's just 4 pads, and some of them have 6. But it cost me $50 more. I got it on eBay with the pressure plate and the throwout bearing. The throwout bearing, I think, in this tractor is fine, but I'll go ahead and change it anyway. That might have to be pressed off that. There's a clutch, or the throwout release bearing holder. Here it is. And that's actually kind of pressed on, so I'll have to knock that off. I'm sure it'll be destroyed in the process, but I've got a new one on the way as well. I bought it on eBay from, I think it's Tractor Clutches or Us is the seller's name. He has a pressure plate, clutch disc, and the bearing for $270 and $18 shipping, so under $300. And it's supposed to be a much more heavy-duty clutch. I really worked this tractor hard. I should have a bigger tractor than 30 horsepower, but it's all I can afford, so this is what we use, and I work it hard. I have mountain property, so it's steep. So I'm getting my money's worth out of this thing. But hopefully this will help give you an idea what's involved. So you can see the loader frame still all attached. The bell, or the firewall assembly is still attached. The electrical is still all attached. The hydraulic for the steering is still all attached. Just all the linkage rods and the 3 hydraulic lines, the 2 high pressure and the suction line. And also the drive shaft. The front drive shaft's not too bad. There's a little slip cover over the shaft. Slide that out, and then there's a little spring pin and a coupler that pops out fairly easy. One thing that was a booger on this tractor is the shuttle shift. You can see there's actually a rod that goes up into by the steering wheel to shift it, and there's a spring pin in there. But also I think there's a slip joint at the U-joint, but it was seized, so there was no way to get that out of there. The slip joint, here's a picture of it. The slip joint is right here, but I think it was rusted because water can come in here and just sit, and that just rusted. So here's where I had to drive that pin out, and that was a little bit of a bear. I had to drill a hole saw a hole right here in the firewall. That gives you access. You can drive that pin out, and it's a pretty stout double pin because there's a lot of torque on that thing from shifting the tractor backwards and forwards. But it finally came out of there. You can see here, this is why I know someone's had this apart, because someone did a lot of cutting and grinding right here. Instead of removing the shuttle shift shaft, they left it in place and made the hole bigger so they could lift this assembly up around that U-joint. But I wanted to get the whole thing out of there because I was having a difficult time lifting it more than 2 inches with that still attached. So that made it a lot easier to get that out of there too. All right, I hope this helps. It would have helped me. I'll post it. I'll try to respond to questions, but it's not a terrible job for a fair mechanic. Just take your time, pay attention to what's going on, and maybe I bought the online PDF manual. It helps some because I wasn't sure about these hydraulic lines. That's really the main reason why I bought it, to help me decide what to do with those. But I probably could have done this without that manual. But it's $14 is good insurance to have, and it's good for other things on the tractor. You can buy the real manual for $100 on eBay, or is the best price